In this video, I'm going to deal with maybe one of the more important questions on this entire channel. What is spirituality? But first, let me just thank everyone who watches this channel and makes comments, and even the critical comments I can tell are really well thought out and very important. And so if it takes me a little while to get back to you, just hang in there. I do ponder these things, and some of them are really great comments, so it takes a while to kind of let them sit upstairs and percolate a little. So what is spirituality? Oh, one other thing, I was thinking of doing some kind of live event. It'd be super cool to just get to know some of you a little more personally, even though it'll still be online. But we can do a YouTube live, or we can do a Facebook live. Let me know in the comments if that at all sounds interesting. We can get a date sometime over the summer. Might be kind of fun, even just a couple of us turn out for it and just have some good conversation. So what is spirituality? I've been reading quite a bit of Gandhi lately, and I think there's one passage when he was contemplating or trying to describe the feeling he has that God is truth and truth is God, and so he very much focuses on a feeling. So let me read the passage to you. There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. I feel it, though I do not see it. It is this unseen power which makes itself felt, and yet defies all proof. Because it is so unlike all that I perceive through my senses, it transcends the senses. And that's a really interesting feeling. That's the way I would describe the experience of spirituality. And when you get this thing going, I'll talk a little bit later in the video, some hints, maybe how to, if we have any power over it. But I wouldn't call it like happiness or some kind of hedonistic trip, and it may not even, it's very peaceful, but I wouldn't describe it as anything like some kind of dopamine rush in the brain. But one question, so in describing spirituality, the other question is, have we lost this spiritual feeling? Something else I want to deal with, because when I bring this topic up, now of course this channel is different. People watching this are into this kind of topic. But when I bring it up to different audiences, it's kind of surprising. Sometimes it just falls absolutely flat. I just brought that passage up as a topic of discussion, and it just went nowhere recently. Well, Sadhguru, and it'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are on Sadhguru. It seems kind of interesting to me as a character. I might do a video on him. Just the phrase Sadhguru means true guru, which is an interesting way to put it. Anyway, he was on Rogan a while back, and he put it this way. He said 50 years ago, if he talked about heaven, people were interested. It was something that it was almost like a felt presence that there was some type of afterlife, that this wasn't it. And he said, currently, if you bring up the topic of heaven, it's just nothing people are interested in. And that, again, not really scientific, but it does suggest that we are losing that feeling of spirituality. And Gandhi fully recognized that even though the feeling might be universal, when we go to talk about it, of course, we're going to filter that through our biases, through culture, through personal biases. And so it may come across kind of differently. But when I described it, you know whether you've experienced it or not, or whether you are experiencing it. So what can you do? And to get this feeling going, well, there's nothing you as an ego can do, and that's really important. And people have talked about this in so many ways, like the grace of God. There's nothing the ego can do to bring about this or the experience of enlightenment. I've talked about this in so many videos. Of course, there's nothing the ego can do, because the experience of enlightenment is the absence of ego. And that same holds for this feeling of spirituality. It's not an ego experience. It's transcending the ego. And the ego can feel very lonely, but this experience is a feeling of connection. It's a feeling of something far bigger than what you would call your individuality. And you're connected to it. You're playing an active role, a part in the process. But more than that, it feels like there's order or meaning, not like bureaucratic order, but the universe is not a random, chaotic place, that there is some kind of higher power, and it's real. And again, some of you may object and say, well, how do you know that feeling that you described isn't an illusion? And I might say that for another video. It's important to talk about. But how do we get this thing going if there's anything we can do to help it along? And I do have a couple pieces of advice. One, again, I've talked about this in so many videos, is the level of seriousness. Now, this is a cultural thing that we're experiencing, being serious about being serious. And so, one pointer is to lighten up. And one of the ways I've found to do this is, instead of watching something political or news or what's going on in the world, at least match that with comedy. I mean, old school comedy. Comedy has taken kind of some strange turns recently. I might do a video on this too. But old school, like 80s, 90s comedy, Seinfeld has been wonderful, benign comedy to it. And just gets us laughing a little bit. And I think that non-serious, it's synonymous with acceptance. You're not trying to change things. Things are absolutely fine as they are. Also, find the place between thoughts. I've been talking about this in so many interviews and podcasts lately, that if you want to be creative, if you want to connect with that higher source, that higher power, find the place between thoughts. It's there. There's always a little gap, a little space between one thought and the next thought. And if you can find it and cultivate it, you'll find that's a door to a much bigger reality than what the ego believes is out there. And anything you could find that just talks about right brain processes. The right brain seems to be that gateway, that door to this feeling. And so whether it is music or laughter or humor or sarcasm, even. It sounds strange. Sarcasm might be a way in there, but metaphor. And so I could list all the functions of the right brain, but these all seem to get that feeling of something bigger going. Now, again, maybe before you even go on this adventure, you want to ask yourself, in the same way I've pointed this out in other videos, do you want to be happy? And you may ponder, is this a feeling that you really want? Do you know that you want it? Are you ready for it? And maybe a lot of us, maybe we're not. But those are a couple hints. I do that. If someone asked me what is spirituality, I would go back to that Gandhi quote, because I think he got it really, really about as close as we can talk about a transcendent experience.